We are live on our end.
Thank you. The 374th meeting of the Board of Trustees of Youngstown State University will please come to order. Will the secretary call the roll?
Yes. Members of the Board of Trustees, please indicate yes when I call your name to indicate your attendance, and also provide the location from which you are virtually attending the meeting of the Board of Trustees. Trustee Cafaro.
Here at my home in Liberty Township, Ohio.
Trustee Hackstead.
Here in my office in Salem, Ohio.
Trustee Jackieback.
Here at my home.
Trustee Corolla. Trustee Peterson.
Here at my home in Jackson Township.
Trustee Roberts. Trustee Ryan.
Here at my office in Warren, Ohio.
Trustee Seals.
Here at my home, Canfield, Ohio.
Trustee Woods. Trustee Lupachowski.
Here from Youngstown State University.
Trustee Lafferty.
Helen, you're on mute.
Here at my home in Haverford, Pennsylvania.
Trustee Spiegel.
Trustee Spiegel should be joining momentarily. He's having trouble connecting.
Chairperson Hackstead, attendance has been completed, and I am recording that I am in attendance in the meeting at my Youngstown office.
Thank you. Will the secretary provide proof of notice of today's meeting?
Pursuant to Article 2, Section 1 of the board's bylaws, written notice of today's meeting was timely provided to each of the trustees, student trustees, national global trustees, and to the president, as well as publicly noticed on the Board of Trustees website and to the media. Draft copies of the minutes of the board special meeting held November 20th, 2020, meeting number 372, and regular meeting held on December 3rd, 2020, meeting number 373, have been provided to the trustees prior to the meeting. There being no corrections, additions, or deletions thereto, the minutes of the meetings are approved as provided.
Thank you, Trustee George. President Tressel, do you have a report for the board?
I do, Madam Chair. It's a little bit sounding like a broken record, but this has been 12 months now, unlike any 12 months that we've experienced here, I guess, in our world, but certainly on campus here at Youngstown State. And I continue to marvel at the great work of our faculty who have had a tremendous chore in this last 12 months. Our administration, our board, obviously our students, most especially our IT folks who have really been amazing as we've tried to have anywhere from face-to-face to agile hybrid to synchronous to totally online. It's been amazing. We continue to have great support from the federal government, the state government, Governor DeWine and Lieutenant Governor Husted, Chancellor Gardner have all been very supportive of our efforts, understanding the challenges that all of the universities have to make sure we continue quality instruction. We've had wonderful work with our health departments, our Youngstown City Health Department, our Mahoning County, Trumbull County Health Departments, Columbiana County, all of our neighbors in Pennsylvania. The health departments have been extraordinary. The YSU Foundation continues to make it possible for our students to continue with scholarship aid and just general aid with the Penguin to Penguin Fund. And so now where we sit is we really need 8 weeks of vigilance. We need to continue to social distance and wear our masks and wash our hands and finish this semester strong. And then perhaps we can look forward to a little bit different future. We're really looking forward to here at the end of the month to open up the Excellence Training Center on the corner of 5th and Commerce. And that's been a labor of love for so many. And Dave Sapusik and all the folks. Mike Ripko began the project, and we're going to be getting the keys to the castle, if you will, here at the end of the month, and we're looking forward to that. And we had great support from the last two governors in the funding of it, and Lieutenant Governor Houston and Chancellor Gardner has been amazing with his support of the project. And we're all looking forward to Fifth Avenue being open here soon, so that we can see the extraordinary things that are coming forward, all the way to the autonomous vehicle lanes from Mercy Health all the way to the downtown and through the center of campus. We're looking forward to completing our We See Tomorrow campaign. The YSU Foundation launched a $100 million campaign and then moved it to $125 million. They're at the about $117 million mark, and we have 4 months left to continue that and finish that. Our people all across the campus are continuing to work on our Take Charge of Our Future strategic planning exercise. We've had a lot of input from many people, and we're looking forward to moving that forward. And we're really looking forward to a fall semester that will be much more like what we all enjoy about a university setting. I should interject, if we're fortunate to have the 8 weeks of vigilance, we are planning to have a face-to-face commencement, and there's more to come on that. But we're looking forward to the people actually being able to walk across the stage and have their family and friends celebrate. We're looking forward to all of the student activities that we've been used to having, and we have a new leadership team there with Elaine Roos and Joy Pocabla Byers and Nicole Kent Strollo, who are really trying to meet the needs of our students to have a great experience, to have the resources they need as they come across some hurdles. And lastly, I would say that really looking forward to Provost Smith continuing the great work that he's doing with our academic senate and Chet Cooper and that entire group, and also with our deans and department chairs and our entire faculty as we seek to have the quality instruction and prepare our students for their futures and research and discover and impact this region. So it's been a challenge the last 12 months. There's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. We're not going to relax. We're going to be vigilant, but we're looking forward to a great future.
Thank you, President Tressel. I think despite the challenges, that is a very bright and hopeful report. So we're looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Provost Smith, could you please introduce the faculty and student speakers?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, distinguished members of the Board of Trustees, President Tressel. It's my honor to introduce two of our three speakers today. Trustee Woods will introduce the third. First with us today is Dr. Amy Fluker. She's an assistant professor and is distinguished as the Robert Reeder Professor of History. She's in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences. Amy?
Thank you very much, Provost Smith. As you said, my name is Amy Fluker, and I'm a historian of Civil War memory. And that's kind of an unusual topic, so I kind of wanted to explain what that means. As a historian of Civil War memory, I don't study the conflict itself as much as I study the ways in which the history of the American Civil War has been interpreted and even misinterpreted over time. So in other words, the study of Civil War memory deals less with battles and campaigns and commanders and more with Civil War commemorations, including monuments. This work emphasizes the ongoing influence of the Civil War on American culture, society, and politics. This morning, I thought I would tell you a little bit about my current book project, which is entitled Haunted by the Memory: Ghost Stories of the American Civil War. Hopefully you can see my presentation here. So even though this book deals with two eminently popular subjects, the paranormal and the Civil War, it is a scholarly work which draws from hundreds of Civil War ghost stories that appeared in popular newspapers between 1861 and 1910. Haunted by the Memory suggests that these stories can reveal new insight into how Americans interpreted their Civil War experiences. I have taken on Haunted by the Memory as a work in progress from my late doctoral advisor, Dr. John Neff. John was a pioneering scholar in Civil War memory, and sadly we lost him unexpectedly just about a year ago. In June, his family asked me to co-author Haunted by the Memory and finish it on his behalf. To give you a sense of the project, I wanted to share with you really quickly a representative ghost story from this project with a couple of Ohio connections. This story comes to us from the summer of 1878. Newspapers across the country, including this one here in nearby Ravenna, ran this account called A Strange Story, which was reprinted from the Baltimore American. And in this account, a reporter is seeking to interview somebody who has seen a ghost. He's directed to a local man, a Confederate veteran, and this man explains that during the Civil War, he made friends with a fellow soldier named Coppleston. And during one particularly intense battle, he and Coppleston made a vow. Coppleston reportedly says, "Look here, old fellow, let's promise each other that if one of us is killed without a chance to say goodbye, he will come back again and see the other, if such a thing is possible." Both men survived that fight, but not long after, the subject was captured by Union soldiers and sent to Camp Chase, a POW camp in Columbus, Ohio. And this is where he actually experiences his haunting. He says in this article, "One night I was sitting thinking. It was late. All the others were in their bunks asleep. I sat there alone for some time, looking at the fire, lost in thought. Suddenly I felt impelled to look up, and there in front of me stood Coppleston. I thought, of course, at the instant that somehow he'd been captured and brought a prisoner to the camp and had only just learned where I was. I exclaimed, 'Why, Coppleston, when were you brought in?' and tried to rise up and shake hands with him. I could not move somehow. Coppleston looked at me sadly for a moment and said, 'No, I was not brought here. Don't you remember our agreement?' 'Great heavens,' I exclaimed, 'were you?' 'Yes,' he said, 'I was killed today.'" Coppleston's ghost then recounts the story of his death and then disappeared, quote, "not going out by the door, but simply fading away." 3 weeks later, new POWs arrived at Camp Chase who confirmed the story of Coppleston's death. Now, the point of Haunted by the Memory is not to prove or disapprove accounts like this one. Instead, it's to demonstrate how this kind of story can help us understand how 19th century Americans dealt with or deflected the trauma of the Civil War. In this case, the story speaks to the overwhelming likelihood of death that loomed before common soldiers. Also, the complication of grieving in a war in which neither army had developed a formal system for identifying deceased soldiers or for notifying their friends and family. The final thing I wanted to mention this morning is that to help me better conceptualize this book project, I developed a graduate readings course, which I'm currently teaching, entitled Readings in American History, Memory, Folklore, and the Supernatural. I have 8 master's students in the course from history and American studies. Our approach is to examine supernatural stories as important expressions of American social and cultural history. It's a very interdisciplinary course, which is new for me. We're bridging folklore, literary analysis, ethnohistory, and cultural history. And we're studying the ways in which supernatural stories have allowed communities to explore their relationship to the past, particularly painful, dark, or traumatic aspects of the past. It's been an incredibly rewarding means of linking my teaching and scholarship, and I would say that Haunted by the Memory is already a better project for the insights and observations of my. And so that's the conclusion of my presentation. Thank you again for inviting me to speak this morning.
Thank you, Amy. Keep us posted as your research progresses. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce Kara Bischoff. Kara is a chemical engineering student. She's a member of the Honors College, and she participates in the Society of Women Engineers. Kara?
Hi everyone, so I'm going to be presenting today about my internship experience that I did in Michigan over the summer for GM and LG Chem. And because of what I was able to accomplish, I won the Intern of the Year award here at Youngstown State University. And I was also first runner-up nationally and won an honorable mention. So I'm going to be talking about just a little bit about what that project was that I was able to get nationally recognized for and how Youngstown State led me to that success. So my project was looking on how we could reduce active material waste in the plant, not really given much detail. And again, because of this, I was granted the title of YSC STEM Intern of the Year, and I was the National CIEA First Runner-Up and won an honorable mention. So this is just a bit about the background of what I did for the project. So they just hypothesized that more active material waste was being scrapped than necessary. And so to confirm this, I went ahead and compiled a cost analysis to either confirm or deny this, which I ended up confirming because we were scrapping about 150,000 a year. So then after confirming that, my task at hand was to go ahead and design a more cost-efficient method to recycle as much active material as possible without depriving the other aspects of the plant of the slurry that we were producing in my department. And also to go ahead and consider additional steps for the operator to ensure more accurate readings was another additional part of the project. So in order to do this, I actually compiled a very large Excel program that basically had all of the information to go ahead and make this analysis itself just by the operator inputting, what material was being used, what line the coating line was currently using, and just trivial stuff like that that they would already know. And by doing this, it would tell them in words whether or not to scrap or reuse the material, because it would make sure basically that the coating line wasn't deprived of anything, and if it was, it would do the cost difference between those two. And this is just, sort of a fun picture. So this is one of the mixing units that was being utilized at the plant. So just to, kind of put words to images. And this is just a brief thing about what the product itself looked like. So, this was, it just kind of shows in words. So in the reuse decision, there's 61 kilograms of material, and then this kind of shows all of the things that were compiled to go ahead and look at. And then you can see here it says just reuse and simple letters, green for good recycling. And then at the bottom, I did one as well where it is scrapping this material. So, there's just one and it's red because, we have to throw that away and nobody wants to do that. Okay, and just another visual aid. These are just some of the containers that we use for scrap and reusing. So the scrapped ones we had to pay to send away in this full 1,000-liter tote for disposal, which was another factor that was factored in the cost analysis. And then to reuse, we just put them in these green bags. And another visual aid. So this is the beginning of the coating line. So you can see sort of the black stuff here. That is the slurry that my department was making. And then this copper color is actually copper used to make the cathodes of the batteries. Because I should have probably mentioned this was for Ultium Cells, the GM LG Chem joint venture. So we were making batteries for electric cars. So this was a part of the cathode line as they're using copper for the base metal. And this was my overall cost analysis that I was able to complete with no more than my education at Youngstown State. No one really told me how to do this or anything like that. I just knew what to do and ran with it. So it shows the vast differences that in the purple, this is, what they actually wasted the last fiscal year. And then sort of in this light blue periwinkle, that is what would have been wasted had they used my proposed method. So as an overall result, if they would have used my method the last year, they would have saved approximately 40% cost savings, being generous, it might have been a little more. And yeah, so doing this, they could save anywhere from 60,000 to 100,000 a year, just depending on what production's like. So sort of just some highlights and challenges I had with this. So initially I did have some issues understanding expectations, but these were able to be resolved fairly quickly, just speaking with my direct report. And then once achieving on an idea of how things operated, things flowed pretty nicely. And I was actually also frequently recognized and acknowledging for always going out of my way to help and make a lasting positive impact on the company in my time there in Michigan. So how YSU enabled me to accomplish all this in my very short time over the summer to do this internship was I really honestly and truly used skills that were acquired in the classroom setting to achieve this. And while I was there, I had consistent support of the YSU faculty, and even just acquiring the internship in general, I had consistent support of the YSU faculty, and I don't think I would have been able to do it without them, honestly. So as far as academic preparation, mainly it's just Excel is, it's very heavy in the chemical engineering courses. We use Excel for just about everything. So it was really great to have that knowledge. And I know GM and LG Chem really appreciated the project being on that already. So no additional software was needed to be downloaded. And then course projects also prepared me for this. Just as, seeing how to work with people, doing the cost analysis, etc. And there's just some few things that resonated. So just coming on time means coming 10 minutes early. Just about how to use emotional intelligence to lead a team and always go above and beyond, especially for those who recognize your efforts, as others will take note even if they don't explicitly say so. Great, thank you for your time. I appreciate you letting me speak today.
Hey, Kara, this is Keith Spiegel. This is great stuff. Two quick questions. One, did they adopt your method? Are they now using your method? Because it sounds like there's considerable savings. And second question, are you thinking about going back to work for GM, LG Chem?
Yes, so they, as far as I know, actually, because towards the ending weeks of my internship, we were integrating my method. So as far as I know, they're still using it, which is really awesome. That's all I could have imagined to accomplish. And yes, I have already accepted a position actually to go ahead and work for the GM LG Chem joint venture here in Lordstown that they're building currently.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the trustees? Well, I'd like to extend our appreciation to both Dr. Fluker and to Kara for sharing your fascinating work with us. You are both perfect examples of why I'm proud. So thank you very much and congratulations to you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
In accordance with the board's practice and in the absence of objection, the committee's recommended resolutions will be considered for adoption by unanimous consent. Is there an objection to the adoption of the resolutions recommended by the Academic Excellence and Student Success Committee listed in the agenda as items A1A through A1C?
Anita, I think we have one more. Speaker. I'm sorry.
I didn't have that. Please, let's go there. Thank you.
Okay. All righty.
Trustee Woods, if you would please introduce our final speaker today.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Smith. Good morning, everyone. Last fall, the junior class of nursing students, along with our faculty, facilitated simulations of mass COVID drive-through testing. As a junior nursing student, I did participate in this program. And so today, Galena and I have invited members of the planning committee, Gracie White, Michaela Magnifico, and Ava Bursack, to present to the board on their experience of organizing and executing this event.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having us. This was a really cool experience for us to have, and we're so glad that we get to share it with you guys. As part of our Nursing in the Community clinical requirement, the junior nursing students conducted a simulated COVID-19 drive-through testing in the parking lot near the tennis courts. Our event was held in October of 2020 over the course of 2 cold, rainy days. Our team was made up of a main committee of faculty as well as 3 subcommittees of students led by faculty that were responsible for scenario and debriefing questions, procedures and supplies, and funding, evaluation, and research. Together, our teams consulted with alumni and local community health agencies about their experiences and policies in conducting drive-through flu vaccines and COVID testing themselves to develop our own model. We even collaborated with local businesses to provide an incentive for our participants. Our patient population consisted of our senior YSU students, the nursing students, and before Michaela goes into a little more detail about our project, I also wanted to say how grateful the YSU nursing students have been for the campus staff and everyone who collaborated with us at the height of the pandemic.
Good morning. My name is Michaela Magnifico, and my honors project for the Honors College last semester was to actually plan the flow of how the COVID drive-through was going to work. So I'm going to go into detail about exactly what we did. I'm going to share my screen with some pictures of the students doing like throughout the give me 1 second. Throughout our drive-through, there's pictures of us participating. So what we did was we had 7 different stations, and the first station was patient registration. So what we did was we had each of our students at the station, we had clipboards, and the patients were to register, and we had a consent form that they had to fill out so that we could test them further down if need be. They then moved to a station 2 where the patients had a visit form. So basically we collected the different like symptoms they were having and why they were there. Did someone send them? Had they been exposed? At the next station, we took vital signs. So we were monitoring for those specific vital signs of COVID. So we tested their pulse ox, their temperature, their respirations, and their pulse. And if anything was severely abnormal, we sent them directly to our nurse practitioners so they could provide direct care. From there, we then sent them to station 4, which was where we had our screening and like, had they traveled, had they been exposed, why were they there, and why did they need testing? And from there, after answering the questions, our students critically thought, and they determined whether or not that person needed to be tested, or if they should just need to go and be taught about where they need to quarantine or isolate. So we used a lot of like the CDC guidelines, which was challenging for me creating this because I had to keep checking because things changed so much from when we started this to when we went to the actual drive-through. So then we had a testing station. We did not actually test anyone, but we did have scenario cards, and we used our skills there to determine whether or not they needed tested. And if they did need it tested, we provided the information about what we were going to do and how to properly do it. And then after that, they went to a teaching station where we provided each student with everything you need to know about COVID. So it provided a brochure about like what were the symptoms, what symptoms did they need to go to the hospital for, if they were exposed, how long did they need to quarantine, whether they needed to isolate, all of that things. And even if they did not get tested, they went to this station as well. And then the last station we had was our nurse practitioners. So there were certain scenario cards where we as the student nurses had to look at their symptoms and think if they were like critically ill, they needed to go to the nurse practitioners so that they could provide direct care there. We also did a debriefing after this. So what we did was each clinical group went with their instructor, and we debriefed and we went through like what could we have done better and what was good about it. I know my clinical group, one of the things we discussed that we could have done differently was the flow of the drive-through, have the cars come the opposite way so the students were on the driver's side and didn't have to walk around. But we took suggestions so that in the case that we actually do this, it'll be a little better than when we performed it the first time.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out how to share my screen because we couldn't get it to work. We thought that this was really good because we may be able to use this model in the future for COVID vaccines or even just testing, like they said, or if God forbid there's another pandemic of some sort. Now we know. One of the greatest takeaways I had, and I think my peers would agree on, is to make the best of any situation, whether it be a cold, rainy day or a pesky pandemic. There's a lot of things that are out of our control, and YSU nursing students are ready to take on and persevere through whatever life throws at us, and we know that now. This event was not only an exciting event for the nursing students, but also for those in our community. For weeks after this event, I would tell people I was a YSU nursing student, and they would be like, "Oh, were you part of that COVID testing?" And they were really excited about it. Sorry, my dog. I think the publicity of this event received helped people to feel a little bit more at ease about this pandemic and how it was being dealt with in our area specifically. And it also gave them the confidence that although education looked a little bit different this year, that the nursing students were still hard at work and were going to be ready for when we are thrown into the field. And I may be biased, but I'm not sure that any other university could have made this event come together quite like YSU did. So thank you again to those who helped, and thank you for having us here today. We hope you enjoyed our presentation.
Thank you very much. Perfect example of what we actually are doing in the real world. And I think I could use both of your help with our vaccine clinics that we have going on, so we can apply that information to something new. So thank you. Any other questions or comments from the trustees? Okay, now we'll go back to our agenda items. Under academic excellence and student success, is there an objection to the adoption of the resolutions recommended by the Academic Excellence and Student Success Committee listed in the agenda as items A1A through A1C? Hearing no objection, the chair declares the resolutions adopted. Is there an objection to the adoption of the resolutions recommended by the Institutional Engagement Committee listed in the agenda as item B1A? Hearing no objection, the chair declares the resolutions adopted. Is there an objection to the adoption of the resolutions recommended by the Finance and Facilities Committee listed in the agenda as items C1A through C1F? Hearing no objection, the chair declares the resolutions adopted. Ms. Seals, do you have a report from the Audit Subcommittee?
Madam President, I do. The audit subcommittee met on yesterday and heard the audit report, discussed the audit information around our audit plan, went through our recommendations and open and closed action items, heard a report from our reporting hotline and a report from Enterprise Risk Management. There were no action items coming out of the audit committee.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cafaro, do you have a report from the Investment Subcommittee?
Yes, Madam Chair. The Investment Subcommittee did meet yesterday and received, as customary, an update from Clearstead regarding the university's investment portfolio. The university investments continue to perform well and are invested within the targets established by our investment policy. And in addition, it was noted that each member of the Board of Trustees should complete the required annual financial disclosure form by July of this year, 2021. And that concludes my report, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there an objection to the adoption of the resolutions recommended by the University Affairs Committee listed in the agenda as items D1A through D1G? Hearing no objection, the chair declares the resolutions adopted. In accordance with the board's bylaws, the governance committee has met and today makes its report to the board regarding its nominations of officers for the year starting this June. Today's report constitutes a first reading only. Voting on the election of officers will take place at the board's June regular meeting. The governance committee's recommendations for the 2021-2022 board officers are Chairperson Dr. John Jakubek, Vice Chairperson Chuck George, and Secretary Molly Seals. The Governance Committee also recommends that the Board of Trustees re-elect Mr. Eric A. Spiegel as a National Global Trustee for an additional 3-year term beginning July 1st, 2021. Today's report constitutes a first reading only. Voting on the election of the position will take place at the Board's June regular meeting. Is there an objection to the adoption of the resolution recommended by the Executive Committee listed in the agenda as item F1A? Hearing no objection, the chair declares the resolutions adopted. Are there any communications or memorials to come before the board?
Yes, there are, Madam Chair. We would like reflected in the minutes of this Board of Trustees meeting the following memorialized community members who have passed since our last meeting in December of 2020. William R. McGraw, who was our first dean of the YSU College of Fine and Performing Arts and served from 1975 to 1985. John J. Young, father of John Young, our executive director of the Kilcawley Center. Wealthy B. Prince, student and YSU employee in the registrar's office for nearly 50 years. John F. Ritter, YSU professor of civil engineering, retired in 1996. Corey Michelson, spouse of Dr. Sarah Michelson, the chair of our Health Professions Department. Richard Burden, a 36-year employee who co-founded the YSU Computer Science program and was spouse of retired YSU employee in mathematics, Dr. Annette Burden. Mary Hendrickson Cole, mother of Ron Cole, our YSU public. Darius Shackelford, YSU student athlete with the YSU football program from 2015 through 2020. Alice Stavich Klempe, university donor. Most people who have driven down Wick Avenue have noticed the Stavich Family Bridge, named in honor of the Stavich family. Michael Hanai, YSU coordinator for student conduct and Cafaro House coordinator. And Johnny McElroy, YSU Basketball Hall of Famer, the legendary number 12, whose jersey is retired, and the father of our current Ohio Director of Aging, Ursel McElroy. We would like reflected in the minutes and memorialized the extraordinary lives that they lived and their ability to make YSU and the entire community and proud. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, President Tressel. Trustee George, I do believe you have a resolution of appreciation to read. Or is that postponed? Okay, I think I got you. Okay. Is there any unfinished business to come before the board?
There is not.
Any new business to come before the board?
No, ma'am.
So I think we have to recognize two significant action items that we did take today, and that was the extension of both Provost Smith and President Tressel's contracts. All of our trustees recognize and appreciate the tremendous work done by both President Tressel and Provost Smith. The past year especially has been uniquely challenging, but despite this, our entire campus community has continued to move our university forward and follow through on our strategic plan to take charge of our future. Under President Tressel's leadership, we have seen enrollment increases, higher academic quality of the freshman classes, and increased graduation rates. We've also seen record-setting fundraising, expanded scholarship opportunities, and improvements to the campus environment. So the board is very pleased to have the leaders of our executive team securely in place to continue their great work of service in service to our students, faculty, staff, alumni, donors, and the greater Mahoning and Shenango Valley community. So thank you very much, and we're looking forward to the next steps. The chair will entertain a motion setting the following dates and times for the next regular meetings of the Board of Trustees. 10 a.m. Thursday, June 3rd, 2021, 10 a.m. Thursday, September 2nd, 2021, and 10 a.m. Thursday, December 2nd, 2021. Is there a motion for these?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I believe that was Chuck and Dr. Jakubek. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say. Any opposed? Thank you. President Tressel, do you have any additional comments?
The only comment I would have, Chair Hackstead, is that we are all certainly looking forward to a future of face-to-face classes, face-to-face commencements, face-to-face board meetings. And I think as we talk about these board meetings and the difficulty of putting it together virtually and semi-virtually and all the rest, we have to thank Cindy Bell and Brittany Bowyer and Jody Klaus and Sharon Zembauer and Mike Sherman for really doing yeoman's work to make these possible. And we are indeed looking forward to being back together as soon as it's safe to do so.
Completely agree, and thank you to all of you for all of your help with this. If there is no further business to come before the board, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody.